is shaking, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mansplaining Show. I'm your host, Dave. With me as
I'm
always.
Jake.
Yep.
Oh,
Uh, Welcome back, Jake. It's been, what, a month now since we've done this?
yeah, yeah. We've had some technical difficulties from my end,
No, I've
and
I've had a lot of medical difficulties. Is what I've had. Is that
yeah, yeah.
I've just been out of it, man. Um, like if anybody's been watching the show, and I'm sure basically it's either Drew and my mom. Um, you'll notice that there's a lot less of me now than there used to be. So I think the last time they weighed me, it was at 286, right? Which is still pretty heavy. But the thing is, before all my medical shit happened, I was weighing in at about 360. So there's been a lot of fucking, like on one hand, I'm like, hey, I'm looking great. And the other hand, I'm like, oh shit, I still got like, now I'm starting to feel the effects of certain shit of the chemo and all that other fun stuff. So I'm
Oh
like, ah,
man,
fuck. So like this week is a chemo week. This means that I got the chemo injection on a Monday. They took the pump out on a Wednesday, and then I got to spend the next 3 to 4 days just fucking not doing anything or only doing one thing that day. You know what I mean? Because it wipes
like
me out so much.
okay, so that's actually that was the question I wanted to ask. Is like how, like what's a thing that you would do without even thinking about, or now it would just wipe you out?
Dishes, just straighten out the house.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Sometimes just going up and getting out, going to the kitchen, getting something to eat. That could fucking wipe me out. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of like I have to force myself to eat. I gotta force myself to be like, I need to take in this many calories today because I didn't take in that many yesterday. And things like, all right, am I taking enough laxative because I don't want to freaking like Here's a fun thing for you guys, for the folks of you who are real fans of being on heroin. Um, so the oxys and stuff that I'm on, which isn't a lot. It's like 10 milligrams 3 times a day, so about 30 milligrams a day. And that's supposed to be for if I'm in pain, from my shoulder and all the other stuff from the neck surgery and shit.
Oh,
And so I was like, well, I'm not really in that much pain, so I'm going to go back off of that. I'm going to go down to 5 milligrams, so 15 milligrams a day. All it takes is one day for your body to like, hey, are we not on heroin anymore? All right, let loose the floodgate, like just fucking open the gates. Because then you find out that like, holy shit, your whole body, because you're constipated when you're on heroin or on opiates.
yeah.
And so the moment you go a little bit off, this happened too before I went into the hospital and all that other shit when I was doing kratom, because I didn't know, I just knew that I was in pain. I didn't know all the other shit that was going on. So yeah, all it took was me going off a kratom for like one day, and then suddenly it was kind of like boom, like it hits you really, really hard. And in my case, since I have colon cancer and I got spots on my liver and all this other stuff, the idea of being backed up is not really the best idea. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you have to keep this shit moving, literally. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what I've been doing for the past 2 days. So I'm like, well, okay, I guess that's a good thing. You know what I mean? So
Whew,
I mean,
man.
I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
Let's see. The trickiest thing, man, is, and I guess actually this is one thing I wanted to talk about. Do you watch Crystal and Sagar or Breaking Points?
Here and there,
Yeah.
like I'll watch certain things that they do, but like I know of them and I watch a decent amount of their videos.
Okay. Um, they had a guy on who was talking about like the future as far as men and boys and stuff, and they were talking about how when the Title IX stuff went into effect back in the 70s, it was to kind of level the playing field between like men and women and stuff, right? Because there was a bit of a disadvantage. And one of the things that he's finding that he found out through like his research is that women are just better at certain things than guys are, especially when it comes to academics. So it's like we have to change the way that we look and how we're going to treat and raise our young boys. Which he gave a couple of ideas, which I wasn't quite sure. One of them was like boys start a year later in school, which seemed kind of interesting. But he said something that was really important, where he was like, "We don't necessarily like what's going on isn't necessarily working because if guys don't know what their place is, what they need to do. Like, okay, if you're not gonna be the breadwinner, well, who the fuck are you? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And because that's a lot of how we thought about masculinity and stuff from like our generation. And so I'm like, oh, but at the same time, he also said like we don't want to go back and be like, hey, this isn't working. This is upsetting the guys. Ladies, back in the kitchen. Back. Go. Fucking do not
We've made a
stop.
mistake.
We
Everyone
made a
back.
mistake. Shut the fuck up. Go
Yeah.
make me a
Yeah.
cookie. And you know what I mean? We're not going to do that. You know what I mean? Even though there's some folks who'd be like, yeah, that's what we got to do. Let's get back to traditional stuff. I'm like, that might not
No.
necessarily work for everybody. And I was thinking about that too because I'm like, you know, when I was listening to that, I'm like, listen, Jenny and I for the up until I'd say a couple years ago, we made about the same amount of money, right? And then she started making more, and now she's making way more, which is great, and I'm really happy for her because she's worked really hard for it.
Yeah.
But now I'm also left where I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing? You know what I mean? Because I can't work. I can't go back to work. I can't like if I tried with this chemo and I try to go back to my job, dude. There's no fucking way. There's no way I'd be calling out 1 week at a time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. Right.
like, sorry, dude, I can't make it in today. When do you think you'll be in? I don't know. Next week. See ya. You know,
Yeah.
and watch every time the guy tries to fire me. I'm like, you know, I do have cancer, right? And you're firing me for this. I told you what I could work, and then be like, fuck you. And I'm like, oh no, I know HR shit, but motherfucker. So like, but yeah, it was a really interesting thought and a really interesting conversation and stuff. Just because it's like, yeah, we do kind of have to move forward. Like, how are we going to do this? How can guys still be guys, but at the same time not being freaking asshole guys? You know what I mean? Without like, does it necessarily mean that, um, like you don't necessarily have to give up your masculinity, but at the same time, you still have to. There's a more of a responsibility that goes with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's definitely a different spot that we're in, and I'm like, interesting. You know?
Okay. I I had something happen to me yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday that kind of opened my eyes to what we're all facing
Okay.
like right now. And so I work for Boar's Head,
Mm-hmm.
like deli company, like deli meat place. So we have every Thursday we have a guy come in, actually two trucks come in, 18 wheelers, right? They come in.
Right.
And this one company, Abilene, that delivers to us, I was talking to the driver, and he told me that almost everyone in the office, actually probably everybody, now that I think about it, uh, has not been working there for longer than 4 years.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, which basically means that they had to like re-uproot all of their fucking like employees. Like they had to get new employees for everything.
Huh.
And I think that's what's happening right now.
You think that was like
Like
a union thing, like a union busting thing, maybe, or
no. This is just like office. This is like office blue collar, or sorry, not blue collar, but white collar work.
okay?
But like I've I saw it here when I got a job as a fucking technician for Sub-Zero appliances.
Yeah.
I had no business with that job. I know nothing about refrigeration. You
Right.
know what I mean? But
But
like they just need bodies, and that's giving people opportunities, which is great. But like we're still in the new part of this, so there's a lot of people who are just dog shit at their job,
right.
or like they're really new, like they are the FNG,
Yeah.
you know. And I think that's in a lot of things nowadays. Like, and that could go for like societal, for like women and men. Like men are kind of doing female roles, female doing male roles,
Yeah.
and we're still new at it. So some people think they kick ass at it, but like give it 10 years and they'll be like, "I'm why am I fucking doing this?"
Right.
You know?
That could be a possible thing too. Like I don't think whatever decision gets made today, I don't think it's the one that's going to be sticking with us for a long time.
You know.
I think it's
So
gonna take a while for folks to kind of come to terms with it because people change, man. The same type of person that you want, let's say, as a partner, when you're in your 20s is different than your 30s and different in your 40s. You know,
yeah,
hopefully you grow with that person. But it's kind of like if there's a lot of young college girls right now that are going like, "This is what we want men to be like." I'm like, I want to believe you, but I know you're going to change your mind in about 7 or 8 years. And there was this great it was a link I put on Facebook, and if you guys want, let me see if I can find it. I want to post it because I thought it was a really, really, really fucking good YouTube video. Hold on. It was. Do you know who Bridget Fedesi is?
Yeah.
Okay, so she because
He's like,
the name of the video was "I Regret
yeah.
Being a Slut," and
Oh shit.
and let's see. I think this is yeah. All right. Let me get the video or the link for it, just so that way for folks who want to check it out, because it was really, really fucking emotional. It was hard for me to get through, man, because she starts crying and what she's talking about, and I'm kind of oh, fucking a stop it. Okay. The reason why I put this link in there so that way guys can watch this on their own time. But the video is called
Yeah.
"One of My Biggest Regrets." It doesn't. It's not "I Regret Being a Slut." I think that was the name of the essay that she wrote. The name of the video is "One of My Biggest Regrets," and she was talking about how she felt, how she used sex as a coping mechanism, and while she knew or she started to suspect that deep down this wasn't fulfilling for her and it was hurting her, having this random sex or whatever, that she would tell herself that she's being empowered and that she's taking the power back and it's all about a dynamic and all this other stuff. But the entire time, her having sex with guys that she doesn't necessarily care about or guys who don't care about her, how it's really, really affecting her. But at the same time, she didn't want to betray, like as far as like a particular ideology or whatever. And it's a really raw. It's like a 23-minute video. That's why I'm not playing it here, because it's kind of like, you know what I mean. That's, like, who's got that kind of time to try to get better. But like, um, it was really, really powerful seeing things from her point of view, from a woman's point of view, when it comes to things like that. Because I've seen, I don't know if you've seen this, girls who were like, yeah, fuck it, I don't give a shit, I'll just bang some kind of rando dude, and then they don't know if it necessarily it's gonna hurt them emotionally. Like, I could say back in my darker days, when I was hooking up with a lot of random people and stuff, I thought that like I was doing that because I was trying to stave off some type of pain, some like crippling loneliness that I was trying to get, that I was running from, and I didn't care where I went to. That's why I did it. But I don't know necessarily why I should. But I don't know. It's a great video. If you get a chance, man, definitely check it out. But yeah,
Yeah.
this it has said a lot about as far as like different like gender roles, where the sexual revolution benefited a lot of sleazy men more than it did women who are trying to
Yeah.
freaking make something of themselves. Sorry, I just
That's the
realized I'm
thing,
rambling.
man.
Yeah.
Oh no, no, no. It's a valid point. It reminds me a lot of abortion too. Like as far as like when women are like, it's our choice and all that. And I'm not here to argue that.
Yeah.
I think it's what it is that they're underestimating the mental damage it does to you when you get one. Because you ask anybody who's gotten one like 10 years later, they talk about it like it's the one that got away.
Mm.
As far, you know what I'm saying? Like
Oh,
they don't talk about it in reverence,
yeah, they don't talk about it
you
like
know?
it was a procedure. They talk about it like it was somebody that had passed away.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I can honestly say for the two women that come to my mind right now, one was really, really good friends of mine, and one somebody that I dated a long time ago. That I still probably think that those were the right choices that they made, because I know, like, we even if they were there talking with me right now, it'd be like, you knew how your life turned out. It not necessarily having that kid wouldn't have necessarily made it better. You know what I mean? You might have like passed on a lot of other shit, and so they were
Yeah.
able to avoid doing that. I commend them for that, because that wasn't an easy thing to do. But yeah, I think it's I think we're gonna get to a point where we really have to dive deeper into what it means to be a human being.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
and that's one of the things that's going to be real tricky, because it's like, what does it mean to be a man? Well, I'm like, well, you got to be strong. You got to be strong to be a woman too, don't you? I'm like, yeah, you do. But you got to be strong, but not so strong to the point where you turn off all your emotions and you don't feel anything. you know. And so that way, like when your kids come to you and say, "Mommy, Daddy, I need help," and you're like, "Just tough it out, fucking walk it off," you know. Like there's a time to say
Yeah.
that, but there's a time not to say that. Like, hey, you just went back, like you had a sleepover, and now you fucking somebody touched you, and like, yes, you need to talk to me about this. You need to be able to tell me
Yeah.
everything, because I'm gonna go and kill your best friend's dad. You know what I mean, or something shit like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
Or if like you, but there's a difference between that and like you're playing football in the backyard and I throw the ball to you
Mhm.
and it misses and it hits you in the head and you go running and crying.
Right.
Then it's like, bro, what are you doing? Get the fuck back out there. Stop being a bitch.
That's the only thing we ask for. Well, you know what the thing is that that's a very important that's an important thing, and it's just not the nicest way that we say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what we're saying when guys say, "Hey, don't be a bitch," is like, I need you to be stronger, because if it's between us and another group of dudes who that we're gonna have to fight, I need to know that I can trust that you're not gonna fucking run away crying on me, and thus for like completely fucking up this entire group or whatever posse that we have going on here. We need to be strong as a group here. So can you deal with this? Can you hang with this? You know, can you
Yeah.
suck it up for a minute? Like, maybe. Well, I'll try my best. I'm like, well, shit,
It's
he's
not the answer I
trying.
want to hear.
Yeah, it's not the answer we wanted to hear, but you know what? But the thing is it? I think there is such a big difference between like um being like, I don't know, man, how would I put this? I'm gonna mention a comic because I saw a special which I really liked. Patton Oswalt special. Did you see the new one on Netflix?
Not yet, no.
It's good. It's good. It is a lot more like Werewolves and Lollipops. Patton
Ooh, okay.
Oswalt. It's at that level. Like he's really on there, but then he kind of loses me a little bit because I know he's going to talk about the vaccine. I know he's going to talk about all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And by the way, Patton, for some reason, if this ever gets back to you, I still fucking think you're an amazing comic. I just think that Twitter fucked you up, and yeah, I think Hollywood fucked you up too. But he has this one bit where he was like who's gonna lead, like who would be leading us and stuff, and then he throws out a name, Joe Rogan, and he's recording this, I think, in one of the theaters out here in Denver, and I would say about a quarter to half of the crowd starts boo,
Oh, jeez.
right, and then he goes like, hey, guys, I've known Joe since the 90s. He is the sweetest guy ever. The problem is, it's not that what it's the problem. It's not that he went nuts for no reason. Is that somebody gave him $100 million. That's why he started. And I was like, that was such a
No.
pussy way to try to wiggle out of that, because you started that bit to get to that point. You know what I mean? And on top of that, I'm starting to get a little miffed at guys who don't work out, fucking talking shit about guys who do work out and saying that they're dumb. And that's
Oh,
one of the
that's stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like he was on Pat Oswald was on Marin's podcast, and it was an interesting podcast. But it also seems like two weak guys who are going to go like, well, we can't compete with these guys intellectually, so we'll just call them idiots, and we'll just talk about them like they're dumber. And
Yeah.
when I saw that, I'm like, I was just really disappointed because I thought there were
Yeah.
stronger men than that. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody's going to be fucking ripped. Like, guys, if you take a look at a recent picture of Joe Rogan, understand that that is not a human being. That is like 50% human being. The rest of it is all fucking TRT, like protein shakes. Like, it's not like he looks that way on the natch. Like that guy, he'll even say like fucking like, yeah, dude, I'm on sauce. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
but that's something he wants to be as healthy as he possibly can. What annoys the fuck out of me is when people try to minimize any type of discussion into like 3 points. You know what I mean? Well, you see
Yeah.
what the problem is here is they gave him $100 million and he doesn't really know, and the science isn't out. Like, even though by the time those episodes came out, they're like, we kind of learned a couple of things. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? When it
Well,
comes to like vaccines and all the other shit, you know?
yeah. Well, the thing is too, like with that money, he's basically trying to do what they did to Dave Chappelle when
Mm-hmm.
he fucking like got the money from Comedy Central and then did 3 episodes. And was like, wow, this money has ruined my show. I'm going to South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're trying. That's what he that is trying to do to Rogan.
Yeah,
And
and
Rogan, here's another thing too. Rogan had to have made a grip of money from YouTube,
Yeah.
and that we don't know how much
Yep. And he's
because there's
never gonna say.
advertisers, all that stuff. Yeah, so this could have been a lateral move, like to Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
but just more of a longevity to it, like a guaranteed. Because YouTube could have just shut him off.
Yeah.
Where now he's in a contract where if Spotify just said "fuck you," he would have to go, "Well, pay me."
Yeah.
You know?
Which was a pretty smart move, I think. And
Yeah.
I think one of the things that he was doing, like with they're starting to talk about it more. They announced the name of the comedy club, the Mothership.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he even said like he's like I'm not trying to make money with this. He's kind of like I already have money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is even if you say I have everything that he made off of YouTube. Then there's the freaking arenas and all the places that he sells out as far as like doing comedy shows, which at $30 a ticket, you know, you do the math, guys. If it's a place that holds 5,000 people and $30 a ticket, that's a grip of cash that he's making. That's just off of that.
Oh,
That's also he also owns a piece of On It, so he's got money that's coming in from that, plus all residuals that come in from any type of reruns that come in from Fear Factor or News Radio, right? So like it's got to one of those things where he was like, he doesn't need it. Now I'm not saying that he's a benevolent person because I've never actually freaking sit and talked to him. One of these days, I hope that one of these days we would, but you know what I mean. It's still like we don't know, but the fact that he said like he's got all this money and he's like I just want to freaking make a place where comics feel comfortable. You know
yeah.
what I mean? I want a place where they can grow, where they can hang out. I want it basically he wants the comedy store out in Austin or that part. But and I kind of I envy that because I've done a couple of I've done 2 shows in September. I was very proud of myself that I managed to do that. By the way, guys, if you're on chemo, don't schedule a comedy show on a week that you have chemo. It's not going to work out. It's going to be tough. Have somebody drive you like I had me. I had my wife had to drive me to the show, and I went to friggin' Greeley. And um, there's something about uh, like okay, other than the friendship, let's say between ourselves and Bear and Armstrong and all the guys that we used to hang out with, you know, when we were all
Yeah.
doing comedy. Um, One of the things that I always appreciated about it is when you guys would make like when one of you guys made my set look like shit. You know what I mean? Because it was so
Okay.
your shit was so much funnier. Because that just instinctively made me want to write better and to do have a better set the next time. Because there were a couple times I know that I've put out a decent bit or a decent premise, and you guys are like, "Fuck," because I saw it on your face, or at least on Bear's face, or in your face. We're like, "God damn it!" Like the first time I did the fucking Star Wars bit or whatever, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit, that was fucking all right." God damn it, you know. But the thing is, we did that for each other. Now, I've also been around some comics lately. I'll just fucking say it. I don't know if they have that or their bar is a bit
Yeah.
lower. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's kind of like, man, you're doing okay for you, for your feelings, but you're really not doing anything for the audience because the audience deserves to see the best version of you that gets up there on the stage. You know what I mean? Like the best jokes or
Yeah.
whatever it is that you can do. And I just saw some shit that just wasn't that. You know, I just see. I mean, maybe it's because the folks that I saw were performing less than like. I mean, they've been doing it for less than 4 or 5 years, possibly. You know, it
Yeah.
could be that. Or there was this one. I'll tell you out there because I don't want to freaking trash him, but um, it's weird when I go when Jenny's at a show with me because she spends so much time on Reddit. She could spot when people are doing Reddit jokes, or I'm like that guy's act read like a comment section of a Reddit thread, and
Oh no.
there's none of him in it. You know what I mean? Where he's rattling off jokes and they're funny, and the crowd
Yeah.
is digging it, but there's really nothing there. And I'm like, it's wonderful, but at the same time, it's also maddening. At the same time, I'm like, God damn it! I went all this trouble to put myself into this fucking act, and this guy's not even doing that. Fuck this guy. But you know,
Yeah.
uh,
This guy's just reading the comment section of Reddit.
yeah.
Like, come on, man.
There was that one kid that this guy I fucking hated. The one that would pace back and forth, while everybody else is performing over at X Saloon. I don't know if you remember who I'm talking about. I'm not. I'm trying not to mention his
Me?
name. No.
No, I'm out back r- ripping butts
Yeah.
and just let me just smoke more cigarettes.
Yeah, no, that was us.
Why?
That was just a hanging out back. I'm like, call me when I'm ready or when it's ready. It's like,
Yeah,
why don't you come in and support the other acts? I'm like, when they fucking do that for themselves, I will come in and support them. But until then,
yeah.
they don't give a shit about what they're saying. Why should I? I'm like, what? Nothing. I'm just gonna
I
smoke another cigarette. Which,
I've never been a supporter of the blanket like you've got to support everyone.
yeah,
No, like if I don't want to smoke a cigarette, I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette.
yeah,
If I want to go talk to comics outside where they smoke cigarettes, I'm gonna do that.
right.
But if I hear that you're coming up and I like you and I think you're funny, I'm gonna drop what I'm doing and go and watch you.
We would do that
I'm
for
not just gonna.
folks too. Like if like Jordan Doll's going up, like, oh shit, we're gonna go watch
Oh
Jordan
yeah,
Doll.
I don't know how many almost full cigarettes. Like I light it,
Mm,
took two pulls off of it, and then it's like, oh hey, by the way, like Comic X that I really enjoy is coming up.
mm-hmm.
I'm like, ah shit, and I'll throw a cigarette and I'll
Yeah,
go back in.
it was
And
sometimes it would be for people that I didn't necessarily even like. I mean, not that I didn't like him,
yeah,
but we weren't friends. Like Aaron Urist
yeah,
is going to go up. I'm like, I want to see what Aaron Urist does because every time that guy hits a punchline, it always takes me by surprise, and I want to see
yeah.
how he does it. You know?
Mine is Vic G.
Oh,
I got if he's ever on stage, I got to see it. I know
see what train
it's
wreck
gonna
is going
be
to happen.
dude, dude. It's gonna be like a fucking like a goddamn circus train hitting a septic truck.
Yeah. Oh, those were the days. So yeah, I did that. I had there was two shows I did September. One of them was out in Greeley, which for the most part was pretty good, and it was a good crowd because I wasn't sure what to expect with Greeley. Because on one hand, it's a college town, but at the same time, it's an agricultural blue collar town. So I
Yeah,
don't know which crowd I'm getting. I'm getting either a bunch of rough dudes or I'm getting a bunch of college kids, and both of them could be kind of tricky on how you're going to perform to them. So I'm like, all right, how do I do this? Because like a week or two earlier, I drove down to Colorado Springs and they're like, oh, it's a cash prize tonight for this open mic. I'm like, dude, that fucking money is mine. I'm going down there and getting it. And
yeah.
holy shit, did the level of comedy or of comics in Colorado Springs fucking really, really shoot up. Like they are fucking good.
Really?
Yeah, like normally I would be like, I'm going to be in the top 5 of this. I'm like, I would be like in the top 10, 15 out of the 30 comics that was there. And I had a decent set too. The only thing is that I should have been dirtier and meaner because I keep forgetting Colorado Springs, they don't want you to be nice. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because most of the comics there are kind of rough, and that's cool. The only thing is I could say is that their joke structure is somewhat similar. Um,
Oh,
but not like they're doing the same material, but there's something that's kind of similar in there where it's like everybody has to be this level of mean or a level of edgy, so everybody else is trying to do the same thing, but they're doing it well, and that's really good. And I even put a post up. I'm like, guys, anybody in the fucking Denver scene needs to spend some time down in Colorado Springs because these guys have fucking lapped us. Like they're better. Like
oh.
they're better.
Yeah,
I will say that. And now, granted, if they make the same mistake that Denver comics do, and they don't get out of town, you know what I mean, and they just sit there perform for the same crowd and everything, eventually that it kind of wanes, But
yeah.
um,
You can only suck your own dick for so long.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Gosh, there's got to be a bumper sticker. I'm like, yeah, I could reach it, but it feels a lot more like sucking a dick than it does getting blown.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, I got a funny story.
So the other day, I finally made it. Oh, it was
I
great.
might have made it. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of sit-ups lately. I finally was able to get in there.
Yeah, the yoga.
No, I ended up breaking the streak.
Really
Woo! Yeah,
nice. You
it
met
was in the
somebody.
most. What's that?
You met somebody.
I mean, not. It's. I've known her.
Okay.
We're just. It was the most unromantic, very like just systematic thing. Like
Ah,
she basically was like, "You got a problem? I got a problem. Let's fix our problems."
right.
And I was like, "All right," because I'm just outside smoking a cigarette, and she lives near me,
Yeah.
and I've talked to her before. Like I tried to like maybe, but like there's some things that I about me that for her are red flags,
Yeah.
and I totally get why.
Right.
Like I smoke and shit like that, that I understand why she wouldn't like it,
Yeah.
and I don't blame her, and I don't put it, I don't hold it against her. But I brought up the idea a while ago about like, what about like a friends with benefits thing? And she was like, I don't
Right.
do that normally. And then she hit enough of a dry patch where she was like,
So I wore it
hmm,
down. Is what I did.
eh. Oh, I didn't do shit. I dropped it the moment I asked.
Yeah.
I asked and she was like, no. And I was like, all right, never mind.
I'll be a gentleman.
And
Is that
yeah,
right? No.
exactly. And I just be friendly with her for the past. And then one day she just hit me up with it. And I went to her place. We started kind of doing some stuff.
Had your
And
fun.
yeah, the funny part was there's two funny parts. Uh, I went through 4 condoms
Nice.
because I couldn't get them on, and I would rip them like, if dude, it was like fat guy in a little coat.
Yeah.
I was like this, and I was just ripping through them before, like, I went through 3 of them before I even had sex. Because
Jeez.
I'd put it on and then fucking like move my dick a certain way and it would bust through.
Where did you get these condoms? What freaking
They must.
what gas station did you freaking hit them up at?
I didn't buy them. They were hers,
Oh, okay.
but
Well,
like it just didn't work.
that's a rule
And
for
then
y'all, the young fellas out there. Bring your own condoms because you
yeah,
don't know how long those. This is true. This is actually true. You don't know how long those condoms have been in that girl's drawer
yeah,
because it's supposed to be what, a year, I think. There's an
maybe,
expiration date on condoms. If you have guy like, oh, is there? I don't know. I haven't had a
yeah.
chance to use one yet. Nah, trust me. Um, yeah, you don't want those things to freaking snap, and you're like, well, I guess I should tell you what my middle name is now.
Yeah. Well, here's another funny part. So we go back to your bedroom. We're taking our shit. I am so excited.
right.
Obviously, obviously, obviously.
Like,
I'm so excited that while she's taking okay, okay, her back is facing me,
mhm,
so she's taking off her shit. She takes her pants off. I go to try and be cute and grab her by like the waist,
mhm.
and she happens to go like this, and I inadvertently like headbutted her in the back of the head with my face.
You're like, ow.
Yeah, and we're both like, "Ow!" That's a good way to start it off.
I'm sorry. I thought
Like,
I saw it on browsers. I thought I would try it. And you're like, what? You know what? I'm just gonna
and then
take my underwear and just take my dick and go. Sorry, my bad.
it was it was a weird situation, but like we knew it was gonna be.
Right.
Like I told her everything. Like I as far as like, because she was worried like I'm a player or whatever, and I'm like,
Mm,
and I like tell her like I haven't been with anybody in like 5 6 years.
mm,
And she's like, seriously? She's like dating? Or I'm like, no, at all.
mm.
And she's like, oh. So she kind of knew that the sex would be bad.
All right. Well, that's fair enough. She thought it was gonna
Yeah,
be like
and
scary movie.
yeah. And it was pretty bad
Yeah.
on my part. It was all on my part.
But you're like, hey,
Because
you
I
know what?
just yeah.
Obviously, you
You
give
could
me a little
only
bit more chance, so if we're gonna do it, knock it out of the park. Come on, but
oh yeah. I mean hopefully there's more chances. But like we kind of laughed it off, but we both were cool about it.
right.
Yeah, I mean, she got what she wanted out of it.
Mm.
I got what I wanted out of it, and then yeah,
I think
but it was a very interesting experience because we both kind of knew this was gonna suck,
right,
but like in a funny way.
right.
So it
I'm sure
worked out.
she'll hit you up again at some point, man.
Oh yeah, she probably will.
But it's just I think it's before I think when I was doing my own thing, and I'd be like, yeah, man, you could fucking just do it, and just you didn't feelings don't have to be involved. Now I probably wouldn't feel the same way.
Yeah.
But that's also because with all the shit that's going on with me, like I haven't fucking been able to have sex. Because my
Oh
body's like every single time I'm like, oh, you have an erection, great, try to move, and there it goes. See ya.
yeah.
Bye. And
yeah.
I'm like, why? It's like, because the half of your body's numb, you idiot, and
Yeah.
you can't do this. And I'm like, fuck, that was like one of the main things that was cool about me was,
Yeah. Oh.
being able to freaking lay some pipe, and now I can't. Fuck, what am I gonna do? And so for a while, man, I got real panicky where I'm like, dude, Jenny's gonna leave me. and she's not.
No, no.
She said that, but I mean, she's the whole thing's been kind of an experience because I have to learn to live life with the lessons that it's throwing at me, not necessarily what I want to learn. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or, like what I was talking about way earlier, where I'm like, no, you can't work. You're going to have to just fucking learn how not to do it. Um,
Yeah.
our buddy, I haven't heard back from Bear. I don't know if you heard from him. I heard from him a couple days ago, said that he was doing okay. He got out of the ICU.
Yeah.
But he's, our buddy was in the hospital, again, getting a piece of his pancreas removed and his gallbladder in order to stave off stage 1 cancer of his pancreas.
Oh, that's a bad one.
Yeah. Well, stage 1 is the
Yeah.
first one.
No,
That's
no, no.
yeah,
It's not the stage. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
Pancreas. You get that, man. That one. You think colon cancer is bad? That one's worse
right. Oh, I'm
because you
sure.
can't because you can't do transplants or any of that shit.
Yeah,
Basically, all you can do is just like maybe cut it down piece by piece and pray that it goes away.
yeah,
But like you can't fuck with like you can only do so much. My my aunt died from that.
uh,
She had she was in a bad car accident like in the 70s and it fucked her spleen up. And then she had a minor surgery like in the mid 90s
mm,
and it fucked their spleen and dunzo.
jeez,
Yeah. So spleen no not the spleen, the pancreas.
yeah,
Yeah, so like you can't fuck with the pancreas. It's a oddly very needed organ
yeah.
that doesn't get a lot of that like people talking about it.
Right. I know for
Yeah.
me, like with the colon thing, it's actually the colon thing. They're like, listen, we know where the tumor is, and there's only one tumor, and we probably could take it out. But the reason why we're not doing that is because it's the spots on your liver that have us concerned more than anything. So we need
Yeah.
to get the spots on your liver, at least to get that going to remission. Now I have stage 4; it's never going away unless fucking they make some cure, right? Or
Yeah.
they find out like, hey, dude, we can actually do some stem cell shit. I'm like, fucking, I'm going straight to Mexico. They're like, you can do this in Texas. I'm like, no, no, I want to get the heart
No,
shit.
no.
Viva la
Like my
raza.
teeth. I'm going to Mexico.
Exactly. Like, dude, you know how much money they're gonna charge me in fucking Texas? I can get that shit for fucking $10 in Mexico. Like,
Oh,
and they're just literally taking a syringe, jabbing it into a kid, and shit, shoving it right in you. Um, so for the most part, I mean, what I'm thinking of is that like, yeah, it's gonna get worse. I probably got 5 to 7 years, which is a lot of time, and there's a lot of things I can do in that amount of time. And if I was, and I'm still coming to terms with it. I still fucking burst into tears occasionally, guys,
that's
because I think it's
understandable.
something that's just like, oh my god. But the difference is, if I had to say, I've been trying to get back on Comedy Works because I'm kind of hoping that I have to go on a Tuesday when I'm getting chemo, so I show up there with the fucking thing on my waist and be like, yeah, this is I'm getting chemotherapy, and I just want to say, take that, millennials. I fucking still showed up. All right, what, you guys can't even? You're having a bad day? You need a mental health day? I have cancer. I still showed up for this shit. We show up to work. That's what we do. Like a moron. But uh,
Like
the only difference is that we know none of us know when we're gonna go.
yeah,
We none of us know. The only difference is between me and most of everybody else is that I have a pretty good idea how it's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's the only thing. Is just like, all right, I'm pretty sure that in about 3 years and stuff, I'm probably gonna have to get like a fucking bag or some shit, or maybe if they don't fix the tumor or whatever in the colon, or if it's the liver, then I'm gonna have to go on some dialysis or some shit. You know what I mean? Like I
yeah,
know that I'm gonna have to do that, and then pretty much after that, I mean they'll give me a bunch more different types of treatments and stuff, and they'll see how things will go, and that'll be it. But that at some point where it's kind of like, all right, I've got plenty of good days with my wife and my friends and everybody, and with my family and all that other good stuff. So
yeah,
it's just it's tough not to think about it. So like I was
yeah,
talking about.
yeah, yeah.
But that being said, one of the things that I wanted to do, as far as with my comedy career out here in Denver, one of the shows that we had that I did, uh, the headliner was a friend, well, not a friend, somebody that we know that moved out of state that kind of came back. I'll just say it, Allison.
Uh,
Um,
oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
she was
yeah.
the headliner,
Okay.
right? So I was going up right before her. Or at least that's what Jacob Urban told me. And I'm like, if I have one goal in life this whole evening, is that I want to have a set that's so great that makes everybody else's look like shit.
Yeah.
And I almost did it. I almost did it. There was a guy who came up at the top of the show. A lot of energy, fucking great. Did a great job. I went up. I got some pretty good laughs, man. It wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but it was good. And I was like, great. Was it better than some of the other people there? And I'm like, in my opinion, yes, it was. And I'm like, that's what I wanted. Thanks. And it was funny, like because I've some folks you can kind of chat with after a show, some folks you can't. Um, it was this other comic from Fort Collins, Allison and myself, and we're all kind of chatting, and some of the people are coming up, like, hey, it was a great show, it was a real fun thing. It was weird. The young dude like was laughing hysterically at everything that Alice, like he was laughing harder than the rest of the room was laughing, and I'm like, you're obviously interested in this girl. Possibly, maybe, maybe not. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but it was just kind of funny. Where I'm like, you know what? I don't care about any of this. All I care about is that I got some really, really good loud laughs, and people laughed at some of the edgier shit that I was doing, and I'm like, good.
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 Good. No, I one of my favorite awful memories of Denver comedy
Mm-hmm.
involves her, but it's not her. It's just she happened to be like wrong person, wrong time.
Yeah.
Our friend of the show, friend of both of ours, like the great comic out of Salt Lake City, Mr. Will Mearswa.
Powerful
It was when
Will
he
Mearswell.
first, yeah, it's when he first started.
Yeah.
We're doing the Monkey Bar,
Mm.
and I was outside smoking cigarettes with like Crawford and somebody else. I think she was out there. I think Allison was out there with us too, talking, shooting the
Mm.
shit. And then all of a sudden, she was going up next. So me and Crawford stayed behind. I think Crawford went in, and then me and Bertman or somebody was in. One of the comics went in. The other two, the rest of us stayed in or stayed outside.
Right.
I'm fucking this whole story up.
Fair enough.
Anyway, but I think it was Crawford pokes his head outside and goes, "Hey guys, can you please come in? There's literally nobody watching comedy, and it's just Allison performing to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because Will Mirswa got blackout drunk. It just walks everyone. He fucking walked everyone.
Holy shit.
If you know the monkey bar in the back outside, there's like pool tables and shit like that.
Yeah.
They all went back there.
Right.
So the actual bar is empty, except for Will and Zach Welsh fucking getting hammered together. And Will's getting sad drunk. Like
Right.
he's getting like my girlfriend just broke up with me. I'm gonna get shit faced drunk
Right. Do you
type
remember
of drunk. But
when his act turned a corner? Because I
oh,
remember when I
it's when
saw.
I think it's when I think it's when he got his D-Wee.
Really? Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I remember because he had one for, and I would say this to his face. When I first met him, he had one good joke: the new phone, who dis, right?
Yeah.
That was the whole thing, and that was it. And then he started getting kind of silly and making like a dad joke or something, and like it was a joke that he knew that made the audience groan. And he friggin' turns around and like in shame away from the audience, like, I'm sorry. And that friggin' got the whole entire crowd on his thing. And then after that, like everything he did was just so much better. You know what I mean? It was like that little friggin' tuning where it's kind of like, you know, where like you know that there's a
Oh
station
yeah,
there,
yeah.
and then you finally
I'm
get it, and then boom, it's crystal clear. That was great stuff. But yeah, oh,
yeah. Yeah, he I think what happened was that was around time when he got his D-Wee. That's why I brought it up.
oh okay.
Because I saw this happen with a couple of comics. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna name anybody, but what happened is like they'll be like party animals and all this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll get a D-Wee. And that makes them not drink anymore.
Yeah.
So now they need something.
Mm-hmm.
They need something. They can't smoke weed either. Can't do any of that shit. They're
Yep.
fucking gonna live basically like a rehab sober life. Like all you can do is smoke cigarettes, drink coffee.
Right.
That's it. But so I think that made him focus.
Yeah, well, that dude is like
Because he's got to do
focused. He's
something with his
hyper
time.
focused. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think I
And
should
then
do
he
the
just
same
went.
thing.
He got better
And now he
he got better
travels.
and better, and then he goes. He's in Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's killing Salt Lake. He's doing great out there.
right? And then I've seen him like he'll be on. It's weird how also people are freaking being performing in Phoenix, and I'm like, interesting. Oh, okay. I need to freaking. I might be able. I might be in Phoenix for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, but I'm only
I,
going to be in for a day or two, and I don't know how many people I'm going to be able to see. But I don't know, man. I want to check out some of these shows because sometimes I'm like, who'd you book? You know.
oh wait, he's coming out here for Thanksgiving.
No, I am possibly more than
Oh,
likely. But
let me know.
my I'm gonna talk to my cousin to see like, hey, like, because I imagine you're gonna spend Thanksgiving with your brother, unless he's going out of town. He's like, all right, see ya, and you're like, the fuck, you know. But
Oh
I'm
no, I guarantee what's going to happen is with my brother is that we're going to end up going to his parent. His I'm sorry, uh, his uh, his father-in-law's house,
okay.
and I if I can get an out from that, I will take it.
All right. I'll double check and see if it's all right because I'm gonna be staying with my cousin and he lives way the fuck like past AJ, like you're close to the Ren Fair,
Oh,
like he's out there, but it still wouldn't take that.
oh, okay.
I mean, it would be like an hour drive from where you're at. That's just going through Phoenix and getting on the 60 and just keep going until like the climate changes, you know. Um, that's what the thing is because it's like when you go up to Flagstaff, right? You're like, hey, all the trees are starting to look different. I'm like, yeah, it's because you're finally getting out of the different, climate and shit. But
yeah.
what
Oh
was that?
God, dude, it's just starting to not be hot as fuck here.
Right? You start to appreciate those 105 days, and you're like, hey, this isn't so bad. Nice. Hey,
Dude,
thanks,
I
Phoenix.
went outside with pants on and a long sleeve shirt, and I'm out there smoking a cigarette in the sun,
Mhm.
and I'm like, this isn't bad.
Yeah,
Then I get in my car to go somewhere, and then I realized it was 102.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, it just felt like a great day.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, dude. Tell you what, I can tell you how awesome it felt. Like once it started to cool off when I used to work at the airport and smoking cigarettes underneath the tarmac because I had a green badge, which meant that I was allowed to go underneath the tarmac. But when a fucking
Oh,
plane
nice.
would come in to a gate and he just got blasted with a it's weird. You just learn how to
Oh
live
yeah,
with
no.
it. Like I'm glad that I'm in Colorado now instead of Denver, Phoenix, with all this stuff because like the amount of lotion that I got to put on me to keep myself from not looking like I'm 56, is quite. It's a lot. If I was in Phoenix, I would just be a fucking just a dried out sack. I'm like, well, where's your friend? Where's Dave? I'm like, he's right here. I'm like, no, not that big huge ball sack that you have sitting next to you. I mean, where's Dave?
Yeah.
Have you still So now that you got one in the books, you gonna go out start doing comedy again, or what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's just I do I want to. I do. And I get myself psyched up to go and then like I always forget about it
Right?
and I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for when I do it and also like this might I've resigned myself to the fact that this might be bad. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just my stuck ass, which I'm
Yeah,
fine with.
yeah,
It's
but you
part
know
of
how to
doing.
get past that though. You know that if it's like if the first one doesn't go well, by the second set you're gonna be freaking. By the third, I would think you'd be right back on top again where you were.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I'm not that's absolutely true. You're right. It's just I it's one of those things where like I'm not sure if I'm gonna have the bandwidth to keep this going because I'm gonna want to.
Yeah,
I'm gonna want to like, oh, let's hit mics, and and then like I'm gonna start showing up late for work, and then this and that's gonna happen. And I kind of need my job right now. I'm not at a point yet where I can say fuck work and just get a shit job.
yeah, but you could still freaking
But
do like, dude. I mean, I was still working quite a bit and everything, and still managed to do mics and everything. It just wasn't as much as I wanted to.
yeah,
But
true, true. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it.
possibly. So there's one thing I wanted to say that since you're a baseball guy and I'm not, um, like a friend of mine, a really really good friend of mine, uh, she posted a picture of her kid, and uh, I'll just say it is that she's a little person, and her son is a little person, and fucking great,
Yeah.
just 5-star people, fucking awesome. And the picture that he has, and this is one of the reasons, like as a comic, I'm like, I'm going to keep my mouth shut about this, but I thought I would tell you because I think you would think it was funny. The picture of him is playing like fucking like high school baseball, and I'm like, I feel bad for every fucking pitcher that has to fucking go up against this kid. You
Oh
know what I
yeah,
mean? Because it's kind of like his strike zone is literally like a foot. And I'm like, God damn, dude. And I'm like, it was one of those things where I'm like, hey, I'm happy. He's an athlete. He's out there. He's out there fucking doing shit. That's amazing. He should be commended for it. But at the same time, you're like, that's not fair. Like, how is
yeah,
that
yeah.
fucking fair? Like, and he's like, it isn't. But guess what, man? My fucking hitting average is fucking amazing. Or he just gets walked.
All that's gonna happen is he's gonna walk a lot
Yeah.
because no one's gonna throw strikes
Yeah.
because the strike zone's like this fucking big. I'm
Unless some
just being
dude is like
honest about it.
unless some dude is like actually like designed, he's on his way to the major leagues and he was like, sorry kid, not today. And just starts like
Yeah,
drilling strikes right in the middle. You're like, holy shit, man, this guy's got some heat. I'm like, sorry kid, you know. But
yeah,
I don't know. I just thought, I'm like, that would be really weird. I was thinking, I'm like, if Jacob Hamill's going up to the plate, they switch him out, and there's like, all right, man, it's up to you. He's like, all right, I got this. And then he goes up. You don't even look at the home plate until finally you do, and you see a little person there, and you're like, what the fuck? And just starts, and just imagine you throwing your hat off and being like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. And everybody's like, oh, what? Are you hating against people? I'm like, no, I don't hate the guy. I don't like him either, but, you know, I don't hate him, you know. But I don't know. It was just a funny thought I had.
I don't want to pitch to him.
Yeah. I'll hang out. I'll have a beer with him right now. But tell you what, you know, I'm not pitching nothing. Yeah, I'm not ruining my averages. Um, shit. The other thing I was gonna say, what I thought I might do is try to do some reviews of like shows or whatever. I don't know if you're interested in doing that next week. Um,
Yeah.
there's certain shows that I've been watching that I'm like, I don't know if I should critique this with Hamill or maybe critique it with my cousin because my cousin's more of a dork when it comes to like sci-fi shit and everything. Um, but
Oh yeah.
it's kind of like, all right, I'll call him once a week. I'm like, what did you think of this week's She-Hulk? Did you watch it? And he's like, yeah, it's okay, it's all right. I'm like, that's kind of what our consensus has been. Um, it's weird that show they're using the Captain Marvel marketing play for that show, where let's make fun of guys who are not fucking 6'2" and ripped. Any guy that has a problem with women, and we'll make that's actually the majority of the men in the show, but not in an offensive way, just in a subtle little tiny way where if you mention it, you're gonna sound like an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, hey, why is this guy acting this way? You know what I mean? Um, it's strange because the character
Yeah.
is a character that's been around since the 80s. So it's not like guys have had a problem with this character at all. They didn't. There was problems with other characters in comic books where they just try to slap on like, hey, look, here's an Asian version of this other hero or such and such and everything. And there was a lot of freaking angry comic book dorks who got really pissed off about things like that. But what they started doing was taking those critiques and then saying, oh, this is what they're saying about She-Hulk. I'm like, no, that's not what they're saying about She-Hulk. You're being sneaky. You're trying to get
Yeah.
fucking
No.
free publicity. And I'm like, it's a bummer because I like the character, but for the most part, I'm like, if it wasn't for Disney Plus, this thing would not work as a movie. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
It wouldn't work as a TV show. It wouldn't work as a
No.
Netflix show. Most of Disney's doing their stuff is 22 minutes lately. 22 to 28 minutes, but they're like, oh, here's a 38-minute show. I'm like, no, 10 of that is fucking credits. You know what I mean? And it's weird. They're just
Yeah.
trying to do some weird shit. The Star Wars stuff is kind of interesting. It's all right. But I don't know. I don't know if there's anything out there that you were watching that you're like, oh, you got to check us out. But I don't know.
Not really. I don't know, man. Like I'll give you an example of where I'm at. Remember how everyone lost their shit about the Black Little Mermaid?
Oh, yeah, I thought that was dumb. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's a fictional
it's stupid.
character. It could be whatever it wants. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Okay. The one thing that pissed me off about it was it's becoming this accumulative thing
Mm.
where it's like, can we stop with the remakes?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I it feels like we're not making anything new.
yeah, because
That's
people
the
because people are scared.
Oh yeah. I mean, I watched the. There's an interview with Matt Damon
Oh yeah.
on the Hot Ones thing. Yeah, where he explains it.
Hmm.
DVD sales really helped, and now that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, so now they're not like if a company, which I get that, man. If Disney is like, yeah, I know we're Disney and I know we got all the money, but I still don't like throwing away fucking millions of dollars if I don't have to. You know what I mean? So why don't we
Tens of
know
millions.
we know that the Little Mermaid is going to work? Let's do this. Let's open it up for a new generation because all of our stuff was basically all the everything we made in the 80s and 90s was all white people anyways. So why don't we open it up to
Yeah.
so that way everybody can enjoy it? Which doesn't sound like a bad idea to me. I don't think, but then you get somebody who was like, "Wait a second, man. This is why are you trying to do this?" And I'm like, "You're it's it's stuff that only matters online." Like I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft because I'm well. What else am I gonna do? I'm not gonna fucking go out and on weeks like this. I don't have a lot of energy. And I've seen people
Yeah.
get in arguments on World of Warcraft, and I'm like, none of this stuff fucking matters. Like my character doesn't actually exist. It's only a bunch of ones and zeros. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this when it comes to um, college kids, because when I see people who make a lot of oh my God, the mic that I went to in Colorado Springs, I don't know if it was the same person, but there was this one girl talking shit to a lot of the guys. Like she was, I don't give a fuck. And then and I think it was the same person who goes up and puts a lot of super lefty stuff up there and eats a
Ugh.
fucking just a massive plate of shit. And comes off the stage pissed off because nobody's laughing at her. I'm like, yeah, it's because you don't fucking deserve it. But the whole idea is that your philosophy does work as long as you stay in college for the rest of your life or in an academic situation where that rule applies. Because it's like I'll listen to some of the philosophy and some of their ideas, and I'm like, you seen thugs before? Have you been around real drug dealers? Have you been around real gang members before, or people who are like at a biker club? You know what I mean? Or fucking just some really
Yeah.
really rough people. Like, did you grow up in poverty? Because what you're talking about, I don't know. I'm not sure if it would work. I got a sneaking suspicion it's not going to work. So I'm not to saying that your idea is horrible. I'm saying that it's it's location specific and it only works if you're in a certain amount of class. If you're fucking poor, if you grow up with a bunch of animals, I don't know, like some place like New Hampshire. I don't know. I'm just picking a spot. But yeah, sorry.
No, no, it's that's pretty much supposed to say. I paused because I was thinking of a city,
Yeah,
and I'm like, it's
like
obvious that it's
Utica.
gonna be no, it's gonna be Farmington,
Mm.
the one town where I saw an 11-year-old smoking a cigarette, and I was like, let it go. He seems normal.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, and it was one of those things where it's not that I would say, hey, let's throw away that entire philosophy, because I think there were some interesting things like I think I don't like the term toxic masculinity, but toxic humanity, or just like, hey, how about not being an asshole? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because I think there's just a lot of stuff to be learned. But so the folks that get really pissed off online, and they're like, oh, we're gonna boycott this, we're gonna do that. I'm like, you can do whatever you want, but ultimately, the people who still manage the money and hold the way the world works, they work in the physical world, not in the internet where it's all ones and zeros. But at the same time, that's a lot of place where you can make a
yeah,
lot of money. But I'm like, yeah, but if that shit falls apart, it's the guys who know how to smuggle shit and sell shit and do whatever that are going to make things work. So it's kind of like part of me, I was getting upset with all these people who are getting upset online, but I'm like, well, that's all they have. So why am I going to get upset by it? You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's kind of like
yeah,
it's like a kid who's throwing a fit and he's holding on tight to dear life to a toy that nobody else wants to play with. And that's kind of how I see it. Where I'm like, all right, best of luck to you, man. If you want to live
yeah,
in, if you're going to live in college for the rest of your life, then go ahead. That's great. But the whole thing is that you're going to get out in the world and like, we need to do this, we need to do that. And I'm like, you fucking go to some super poor people and start talking to them about how they're privileged and stuff, especially when you grew up fucking richer than they did. Wait for check the fucking weather because it's going to be raining elbows and fists coming very, very shortly. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah,
like, yes, fucking rich kid, please tell me how I'm privileged. You know,
yeah. Please.
please explain it to me like I'm a fucking idiot, like I haven't been paying attention, to the rest of the world around me. Like maybe you haven't, maybe you haven't, you know. So I don't know. Um, but I could see the change happening in comedy. I could see it in the specials and stuff. What's working, what doesn't work, you know.
Yeah,
Um, if you get a chance, definitely go check out the Patton Oswald one. It was really good. I would say
yeah,
the first half hour of it was actually pretty amazing. I was like, holy shit. I was, even if I did certain jokes I didn't want to laugh at, I still laughed at, you know.
yeah.
But,
But
uh,
I'm more like, comedy wise, I'm more leaning towards guys like I like Andrew Schultz.
mm,
I think he's all right. I think he's pretty good. But like I like guys like Ryan Long
I don't know.
and who's a couple other ones like uh basically like anybody from the Legion of Skanks,
Mm,
like your Dave Smiths and your fucking I think Big J Okerson's fucking hilarious.
right.
Like, but it's that style of humor. And I think that the other style of humor, like your Denver centric styles, I'm not just picking on Denver. It's a lot of other cities.
Mm-hmm.
Is some guy in a cardigan telling jokes about different kinds of cheese. Shit. you know
Or what was it?
that.
There's like a comedy look that I can't
Yeah,
quite put my finger on it, but I want to slap every guy that fucking does this. So I'm like, all right, so can you not like you're wearing either a polo or just a normal t-shirt with some shorts or pants that don't match, with a belt that doesn't matches, with shoot that doesn't match, with a haircut that looks like you just kind of fucking rolled out of bed, right? I've seen guys that do the disheveled look, and you're like, he doesn't look attractive. He knows that he looks awkward, so he's leaning into looking awkward. There's
yeah,
that guy. Then there's the preppy comic who, what are you talking about? Where he's fucking got this like a sweater and everything. And at one point, you could hear the phrase, "Listen, I know I'm only a straight white guy or a cis white guy,
yeah,
but you know." And I'm like, "Yeah, we already know the bar was lowered when we fucking saw your sweater, so we don't
yeah,
need, you don't need to fucking lower it anymore." Um, I've seen that too. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But you
Well, there's
look
a
at,
reason why I don't like that stuff,
yeah.
and the reason why is because they're kind of fraudulent.
I think
And
they're
by
actors
they'll
pretending to be comics because they don't know how to be actors yet.
yeah. Well, I mean, what annoys me is that they'll paint themselves as like somebody who's like super open minded,
Mm-hmm.
but then they'll spend half their show talking shit about other
Uh,
people that they
exactly.
disagree with.
Oh my gosh, one of these days, um, I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna have to do it on one of the nights when I see a bunch of people do like a bunch of bullshit on stage, and then I'm gonna go up and
Yeah,
be like, "Can you believe these people who don't want to get vaccinated now they're dead?" Oh my god, aren't we so good? I'm so glad. Oh my god, have you ever heard a child scream when its mother dies? It's hilarious.
yeah,
And just fucking do it and just fucking get even more and more maniacal. Aren't we so right? Aren't we so good? Aren't we so special? You know, like, and just fucking
yeah,
do that. I'm like, do you think that's funny? No, I don't think anything what you're saying is fucking funny either. You
yeah,
know what I mean? You're gonna fucking
They-
laugh at somebody's mirror. If it was funny, I would have laughed, but it's not. So like, fucking
yeah,
Jesus Christ. If anything, if you had any sense of shame, you would go out and fucking just get in your car, pick a direction, northeast, southwest, and just start driving and don't ever come back. That's what I would say.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Stop fucking wasting your time, whatever the bullshit thing they were going through, because it's not helping. It's
No,
not helping. I always want to say, I'm like, guys, you fucking fought against racism. What'd you do? Oh, you stopped going home for Thanksgiving and you called your mom a racist. Congratulations. Did that stop somebody that you don't know from saying freaking hateful shit? You know, like, you know
yeah,
how we had to fucking go through this, and it's just like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy having friends. Guess what? I have friends that I don't agree with. You know what I mean? But they're still friends of mine because that's what friendship was supposed to be about. I thought. You know what I mean? Not putting yourself in an
yeah,
uncomfortable situation, but it's kind of like you got to, you know, fucking take people as who they are. But God, man, like, so you've quarantined yourself off from most of the world. Are you happier now? Because you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, are they? Maybe. You know, I don't think they are
yeah.
though.
I mean, that's always been my opinion about like racism and shit.
Yeah.
Like everyone wants to put an end to it. Like you can't end it. You can't just be like it's over now. That's not that's not how it works.
Oh, we're good. Thanks. Oh, finally.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
honestly think that there's something in also in DNA, man. Not to give this as an excuse and stuff, because everybody has. It's like whether let's say if it is in your DNA, like I have that bit about my mom and Spaniards because we grew up in my family's Mexican, or half of it is,
Yeah.
and Spain occupied that fucking part of the world for quite some time and did a lot of horrible shit. So
Oh yeah.
sometimes my mom was like, "Oh, Spaniards," and I'm like, "It's been 600 years. You think we would have forgotten about it or gotten over it, but apparently not." So that's always going to be something that we're like, "Hey, mom, just because they're from Barcelona doesn't mean that they're going to take all of our jewelry. It's okay, all right." She's like, "You say that now." But wait, they speak
Yeah.
with the funny Spanish. I'm like, well, actually, we speak the funny Spanish. It's their language. I'm like, never do mine. But you know what I mean? Like, you take that and then you think like Europe. How many different cultures? How many different histories that are in Europe, and how much war that has taken place in Europe? You know what I mean? At a certain point,
Oh
there's like the only time I've seen Scottish and Irish people get along is when there's an English person around, so that way they can hate on the English guy. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah.
Because for the most part, Scotland and Ireland don't always necessarily get along. Scotland and England don't always get along. I mean, it just there's Wales. I don't think they get along with anybody. I don't know. I don't know anybody from Wales, but
I mean, it's like ask somebody from Turkey
mhm,
how they feel about people from Greece
vice
or vice
versa.
versa.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
worked at a
bad.
Greek restaurant, man. Somebody mentioned something about Turkey, and they're like, "Fuck," they're still,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mm,
It's fucking nuts.
yeah, crazy stuff, man. And then like, yeah, there's just all this stuff, and just to think that you're gonna get away, we're gonna move away from it. I'm like, we can, but
Well,
it's certain things. There's like there's. Do you remember
the
the
only
East
way to
Coast?
do it,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the only way to do it is organically.
Yeah.
It has to. You can't force it
Mm-hmm.
because once you try to force it, it won't work. And you have to let people just be.
Mm-hmm.
If someone wants to be a racist piece of shit, let them.
Mm-hmm.
And if because eventually they'll catch on because of my stupid beliefs. I'm literally cutting out 50% of the population for something that they can't even help.
Yeah.
And eventually they'll come around being like, okay, maybe that was stupid. But if
Sometimes it
you
takes all
tell,
this as welcoming, man, or just fucking some
yeah,
folks being friendly and be like, listen, I know you don't
yeah,
hate me, but you know what? I also know you don't know me, and so
yeah.
I'm gonna take a minute and everything.
But
That's
if you tell that person, you have to do this now,
oh,
they're just going to pretend and they'll push it down.
dude,
And then
that's when
eventually,
everybody's inner Kid Rock comes out. That's when the white guy's inner
yeah,
Kid Rock comes out and be like, fuck that, fuck these people, because
yeah,
nobody wants to be
yeah,
forced to do anything. That's the other thing that's kind of come to me where I'm like, even if it's a good thing, we're like, listen, you really shouldn't be smoking. It's going to be freaking bad for your health. I'm like, fuck you, I'll do what I want. You know what I mean? That's
yeah,
not wise. It's not wise at all. You know what I mean? Or it's like, hey man, you really shouldn't be racist against these people. You don't even know them. You're gonna freaking, I'm like, oh, maybe I don't know, man. This is how my dad was and stuff. And, you can have a conversation and be like, hey, just
yeah,
because maybe what your dad went through doesn't mean what you have to go through and everything. But if you go, listen, you entitled piece of shit, how dare you even feel this way? How dare you think this way? I'm like, you can't regulate somebody's thinking, at least not
yeah,
yet. Elon's still working on it, but
yeah. He's going to chip for
yeah, he's gonna.
that.
I'll chip the fuck out of everyone. But yeah, it's just kind of it's funny that way where it's like, yeah, you can't force it. Like we can get there. I
No.
think there's some good shit out there, but like for the most part, oh god damn it. I think that's probably a good place to end it because there's some
Okay.
other things I was gonna
Yeah.
tell you about, but I'm like, oh wait, we're streaming. I don't want this. You know.
Yeah.
So
It's
I don't have anything to plug other than the GoFundMe that's in the link that I posted in the chat room. Um, if you guys want to donate, that would be great.
yeah.
Or if you just go to disjointedpod.com, there's many different ways. There's my Venmo, there's my Cash App, there's um, my PayPal, all that other stuff. If you guys want to donate and everything, every little bit helps. Appreciate that. No shows coming up. Other than that, we'll try to do another one next week, and we'll actually maybe prepare for it, but I promise nothing. So next
I'll
week
try
will
and
be
get
a better.
a better headset.
No, yours worked out fine, man. I think it worked out great.
Oh, I did. Okay.
Yeah, I think it worked out great. So, I guess signing off for Mansplaining, I'm Dave.
I'm Jake.
Y'all have a great week.